Okay, hey Eric, how you doing?
I'm great, Bob. How are you?
I'm okay. Hey, we were just talking to Mackay. Just he didn't play a lot in Europe, and he seems like his game's improved a lot since then. I don't know if that's just being around you guys more. Kind of what you think about him in Europe, and maybe where he's taken his game since then.
Yeah, I mean, I think early on it was trying to figure out our system, trying to figure out our culture, trying to figure out expectations in practice. Um, but he's, continues to improve on a daily basis. Um, I thought he played really hard at Texas, but he's, 3 of 9 on paint points or paint shots. And I thought he did a much better job, the other night against North Dakota State as far as finishing around the rim. And for him defensively, he can always, he can have an impact rebounding the ball. He can have an impact. It's really about, finishing around the rim and then, not turning the basketball over at that 4 or 5 spot is extremely important as well.
And then you mentioned a little bit there, but what do you feel like he really brings to the table for you? And a lot of times it's guys knowing what not to do as much as it is knowing what they can do.
Well, that's really true, Bob. But I think that, with Kai, it's playing with energy, it's running the floor hard, it's being a great defensive rebounder, it's following the game plan both offensively and defensively. I think all those things become really important because, his size and athleticism adds a different dimension to our team. He's done a really good job of late of learning the plays and understanding what we're trying to get out of each play. He could be a better, improving in setting screens. I think that's another area that we could really use a player willing to sacrifice offensively for us by setting good screens.
I might have a couple more. I'll turn back to Mike. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Bob.
Courtney.
Yeah, hey coach. I was wondering what challenges Fordham presents for you guys. Going into that game on Friday. Kind of what do you see from that team?
Yeah, so Fordham has, they have 5 players which we deem red shooters, meaning guys that we just cannot give a 3-point shot to, and it starts with number 3, Quisenberry, who's an all-league player. Was an all-league player when he played at Youngstown State as well. Number 3, Rose, at the small forward spot, can really hit threes. He's really good in one corner, especially from 3. Their point guard, number 24, is another guy that can make shots. They bring a big guy off the bench, number 15, who can make shots. And then number 1, Richardson, has a reputation of being a guy that can make shots. So we've got to defend the 3. We can't let an all-league player like number 3, Quisenberry, get good looks. We need to make his shot attempts, whether they're at the rim or from beyond the 3-point arc. We need to make those as difficult as possible. And those are some of the things that we've got to do a good job. And then, number 2 more at the power forward position. You're talking about a player that, has started, I think, close to 100 games in the ACC at Georgia Tech. So we have our work cut out for us because Moore is probably their second best player and a guy that we have to have great respect for as well.
And I asked Mackay this, but how do you feel the team is gelling so far at this point in the season? Obviously, you guys had a chance to gel a little bit more than other teams, with going to Europe and getting to do all these things. But where do you feel like the team is right now with chemistry? Do you feel like they're in a good place, or they have more room to grow there?
We have we got to grow in a lot of areas. But I think we played a good game the other night, or I should say a solid game. Obviously in our games overseas, a good portion of the offense ran through Nick. So we've had to make an adjustment there. I thought that they adjusted really well. I think that they understand that we could change the starting lineup again on Friday. And then we could change it again, going into the game the following Wednesday when we play South Dakota State as well. So the lineup might change here for the next week or so based on what we perceive to be matchups and how we want those matchups to look. And then also, giving some guys an opportunity early on, because we had a completely different starting lineup, basically the Texas game than we did this last game. So it's about getting, some of our guys opportunities to gain some experience, for situations like we might be in down the road with an injury or what happens during the course of a normal college season.
Thanks, Coach.
Curtis.
Hey, Coach, curious how you would assess Anthony Black's debut for you, and then how is he feeling? I know he got banged up there, but then he came back in the game.
Yeah, I mean, we're banged up right now. Ricky hurt his elbow. TB has an ankle that he rolled pretty good, and then obviously Anthony. So, how it looks over the next 48 hours before Friday's game, I don't really know. I know that, we're down 3 to 4 guys today in practice. Till I get off with the media, I won't know who's suiting up for practice, but certainly know that because I got an email this morning and have had some conversations with our trainer that there are 4 guys that will not be going full court today, and will be limited at best to some half court situations.
And then just to follow up on Anthony Black and just what you saw from him, how you would assess his first game.
I mean, Anthony just does things that normal guys don't. I talked about the hook pass, cross court passes he can make. He was really effective in pick and roll. I think we ran 13 pick and rolls with him and thought he did a good job on reading, getting other people involved. His rebounding gives us a whole different dimension. I mean, when you have a player his size at the point guard position and he can be second on the team in rebounding, there's little things like that that people don't talk about. Him as an inbounder on baseline out of bounds has helped us a lot as well. So I think he's played really well. And then, defensively, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I don't think that North Dakota State point guard scored a field goal. So he did a phenomenal job of using his length and not allowing, the guy that he was assigned to. And then he's really good at covering up for teammates on what we call X outs once we get into defensive rotations, stuff that a fan could never probably notice, but certainly I got a 3-page report here from Coach Smart on our defensive grades. And everybody's graded out there, and he's graded pretty well defensively.
Scotty.
So is that like the Keith Smart version of Pro Football Focus? What do those defensive grades look like?
It's probably pretty similar. It's kind of over my head too, a lot of the grading system. I need the clip notes.
Yeah, I was curious. I wanted to ask you about your interior defense. I think North Dakota State was like 12 of 29 combined in the lane in the restricted area. What do you think led to that? What was working for you guys?
Yeah, I thought, from a post defensive standpoint, we did a good job of digging with the 4 players that were not guarding the post. I thought that our post met North Dakota State's post early and didn't, we had some physicality as they got into scoring range, where we call it meet and greet. You know, I didn't think that we were soft, trying to fight for post position defensively, because obviously people always talk about offensive players fighting for post position, and we feel it's extremely important to fight for post position defensively and try to find the area that you're not going to allow your opponent to catch the ball in. And I thought we did a really good job, with the exception of, you know, number 4 for North Dakota State, that kind of, he hurt us out on the floor and then attacking off the bounce more so than with his back to the basket.
I think a couple of times Monday you mentioned some improvements that you were wanting to see, or just more that you're wanting to see from TB on the defensive end. What specifically as a staff are you guys wanting to see from him there?
Yeah, I think physicalness. I think holding his ground, not getting dislodged is going to be really important. I think because he's such a phenomenal shot blocker, that sometimes he'll allow his man to catch that thing, and then he'll just, you know, he'll try to alter the shot. You know, and I mean, I don't know if he fronts the post, I don't know if anybody's ever going to be able to throw a lob over him. So we just want to try to encourage him to get in the habit of post fronts, maybe a little bit more than what we saw, you know, against North Dakota State.
Now, lastly, I'm curious if there's anything maybe in your rewatch of the opener or your post-game analysis that caught your eye that maybe didn't in real time.
Not really. I mean, I think defensively we played really hard. You know, I like the way that our 3, you know, 2 of our transfers and Devo, I thought those 3 guys offensively were really good. You know, basically, I guess 8 hours before tip-off, Ricky was not going to start. I thought he approached, you know, his mindset all week, thinking that he was going to come off the bench. I think he had a great mindset. Obviously, you know, that was the first time since Brazil has been with us that he came off the bench, because he started every game overseas, to my knowledge. And he started, you know, the 2 exhibition games, and then I made a decision to bring him off the bench, and I thought he responded really well. So I think there was a lot of real positives. You know, I thought North Dakota State kind of packed it in. And I thought we did a great job with our shot selection from 3. We only took 10 threes. You know, and I thought we did a really good job with that. And I thought we did a great job taking care of the basketball, minus some of the turnovers that Devo had.
Demetrius, you got a question?
You're on mute.
Bob, follow-up question?
Yeah, Eric, any chance Nick could play in this game, or kind of what's his status right now?
Yeah, I think just, you know, the same as it has been, Bob, just that it's day to day, and you know, he's not going to practice today. He's not going to practice tomorrow. So, you know, I would anticipate that he, you know, is not going to play. But again, I think that kind of leave that up to the trainer and Nick. But the anticipation is right now that, you know, we got to try to worry about getting these other guys that did play, get them close to being as healthy as possible.
And then McCamish, you know, that Rhode Island played Fordham last year and got beat. Of course, you know, he's obviously on a different team now with you guys, and Fordham's had some turnover, but I think they have a couple guys that are still there. But I don't know, has he talked to you about getting a little revenge or anything like that?
Not really, Bob, and probably one guy that I won't ask, you know, for a scouting report from will probably be Kai. I don't think I'll refer to Kai on any scouts, whether he played against somebody or not. I think I'll go off what our staff and our eyeballs, and we just want Kai to focus on playing.
Okay. And then obviously it's the second, I guess it's at least the second set of twins you had. Maybe you had some others, but what was it like recruiting him and his brother, and just how do you think they're fitting in, you know, with the team, kind of, you know, I don't know, culture wise or off the court, you know, just kind of fitting in with you guys?
Yeah, I think that number one, their teammates really like both Kai and Kel. They really respect them. You know, I think from a size standpoint, the guys on the team and the guys in the locker room think that both of them can help us. I think that it was culture, expectations, accountability, a lot of newness for both of them, and a adjustment that has continued up until this day. And I think they've done a good job. They continue to improve. They continue to understand our expectations on and off the floor. But they're growing in that aspect of how hard we practice, expectations across the board. They continue to move in the right direction.
And I know she did a golf themed pregame talk. I saw it on Twitter. You don't strike me as a golfer. I don't think you have the patience or the temperament.
No, I mean, some guy tweeted out that I didn't use the proper phrasing with sandpit or whatever. I mean, the amount of golf that I've played is, well, I'll tell you a quick story, Bob.
Okay.
My dad spoke and got golf clubs at a speaking engagement, and they sat in my garage when I was growing up in San Diego for about 3 years. And then finally my mom said to my dad, hey, why don't you take Eric out to golf and teach him, you know, kind of broaden his, you know, so it's not always basketball, baseball, and football. And my dad took me to a golf course, and we played one hole. It took a long time. And my dad said, do you like this? And I said, no. And he took the clubs, he threw them in the water. And then we went to a movie. And then when we got back, my mom asked how the golf game went. And my dad and I looked at each other and we said we loved it, even though we went and watched the Pink Panther. That was the movie we watched that day. But my mom thought we golfed. You know, to this day, she probably still think we golfed at Torrey Pines, although we were in a movie theater.
Yeah. Well, it's
There was good life lessons in that driving range speech, Bob.
Yeah. Did your mom ask where the clubs were when you guys didn't bring them home?
She never noticed.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know nothing about golf. I play a little putt, but I think it's called a sand trap. But I don't know. If I'm tired and want to go to sleep, I'll turn on golf. It puts me to sleep.
You can go with bunker too.
Final question, Demetrius.
And Musk, I know Nick didn't play. Do you think that somewhat helped the other guys kind of develop as an offensive scheme and kind of what they can do on the court without your leading scorer, or kind of in the face of what everybody thought would be the leading scorer?
No, I mean, I think that, like, you know, Nick's such an unselfish player that I think, you know, the guys want to see him back with us as quick as possible. They like playing with him. Nick's a tenacious competitor. You know, I think with anybody in any sport, really, it's just about, you know, hey, who's healthy, who's available? How do we make this thing work? How do we get a win? Nick was probably too engaged during the game. At the end of the bench, the referee kept telling guys to sit down. And finally I went down there and, you know, said, who they talking about? And 4 or 5 guys pointed to Nick. So I think that, I mean, we're still trying to figure out who we are. Roles are fluctuating, starting lineups fluctuating with 11 new players. That's just kind of how it's going to be. So, you know, but obviously if someone as offensively dynamic as Nick is not in uniform, somebody else is going to get an opportunity. Those shot distribution is going to go to other people. And then you just need people to step up and play well.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.